Hello, SpookyUniversity people. Thank you so much to everybody who responded for this past topic about your own personal museum, both comments and videos. I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. I thought we got some pretty good responses, and I think it was a really good question. It definitely took some thought and made me kind of look at the positive points in my life, which I think was a really good thing this week. This week's topic is going to be related back to a training thing that I had at my work this past week, which was about micro-inequities. And I don't know if you guys have heard of this particular thing or not, but basically, to wrap it up, it's those little things that people do that sort of make you feel less important in your day-to-day life, your job, your whatever, in your family or whatever it is. And it's things like, for example, spelling your name wrong, or consistently interrupting you while you're talking, or I was trying to think of some other ones. Not introducing you to other people when you're the new person, or somebody, to not introducing you to somebody that you don't know. Things like that. Things that in the grand scheme of things aren't necessarily a big deal, but they can become a big deal if it happens over and over and over and over. And more specifically, and this is maybe one of those racier topics, I guess. No pun intended at all. But we watched a video called A Class Divided, and you may have seen this. It was it happened in 1968, I think they said. Don't quote me on any of this stuff as far as the timing and things. I don't remember that part. But what they did was they took a class of, I want to say they were third graders, and they said, okay, if you have blue eyes, then you're superior, and if you have brown eyes, then you're inferior. And they made the brown-eyed people wear these collar things, like these cloth collars, and just, it was sort of an experiment to see what would happen. And that was day one. And then on day two, the teacher flipped it, and she said, okay, I was lying to you before. The brown-eyed children are really the superior ones, and then the blue-eyed children are the inferior ones. And I'm in touch with that sort of thing on a lot of levels, and we've actually talked about being politically correct. That was one of the past topics, and we got a lot of good responses from that, and some good discussion out of that. But this sort of hit home in a different way, because on these smaller, what are seemingly smaller things, how do they affect you in your life? So what I'm looking for in this conversation is, do these things happen to you on a daily basis, or have they ever happened to you? And how did that affect you? And I mean, it could have been something that happened 20 years ago, or it could have been something that happened yesterday. But I really want to hear, have you experienced these type of things? And if so, and I'm sure you have, everybody has, and if so, how did you deal with it? And I'll give you an example from my life. My first name is Claire, and a lot of people spell my name wrong. They usually put an E on the end of it, and there's no E on the end of it, which it's understandable in the grand scheme that, the typical spelling has the E at the end. However, when I've emailed someone, or if it's something in writing, and the person is responding to me and they still misspell my name, really that definitely makes me feel like I'm not as important enough to them for them to look and see. And I have a couple friends like that have different spellings of their names, and we talked about this particular piece. But that's just an example. But I'd like to know if things like that happen to you, how do you deal with them? And then also, so this is a two-parter. Do you recognize when you do things like that to others? And if you do you work to try to correct that and maybe pay more attention to what has happened? Or do you not even realize that you've done it? And is it truly just a subconscious thing that we do? One thing that, for an example, one thing that I noticed I do to people is I constantly am checking my BlackBerry. And I I didn't realize I was doing it until I was in my doctor's office, and I was actually there for a checkup, and I was talking to my doctor, and right in the middle of what I was saying, I think that he got an email or something, but anyway, he picked up his cell phone and he checked his email right there in front of me while I was talking to him. So that kind of brought it home for me that I do that to people too, and that is obviously rude, and it obviously would make somebody feel like they're not important, like I'm seeing them as less important than whatever's on this machine. So give me some examples of things like that have happened to you or that you've done to other people and what you did about it. I'm pretty this training session really intrigued me and made me want to find out more about how other people deal with that sort of thing. So I'm looking very forward to your responses to this one, as always, and if I'll put some of my little leading questions in the description section. And yeah, I think it'll be an interesting discussion. So I'm looking forward to it. I will talk to you guys next week. Have a great week. Life.